Good morning to you. 7 a.m., Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. It is tax day. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We're going to take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Maybe a shower here or there this morning. Then any clouds will start to break up. We're going to see some sun mixing in later. It'll be a breezy and mild day with highs around 70. For the real details, we head straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta. He has a first look at the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken. Very good morning to you. Nice to see you on this Tuesday, a spring-like Tuesday. Feeling very pleasant. Yesterday's weather, I think, caught many by surprise of how warm and sunny it was for those couple hours in the afternoon. But today, I think will be a little cloudier through most of the early morning, especially with temperatures that start off in the 50s, not all too chilly, even down by Atlantic City, 61 degrees this morning. And we see a little bit of a warming trend through the afternoon. There's a little more of a shower chance that comes through later today, and I'll show you that with the futurecast. But right now, winds are light, maybe at times gusting up to 18 miles per hour, and we are a solid 22 degrees warmer than this time yesterday down in Mount Holly, even 23 degrees warmer over in Toms River. To the northern part of the state, anywhere from 9 to 14 degrees warmer. So there is a little bit of a milder trend today that starts off with a healthy dose of clouds. They came in last night, even dropped a little bit of rain in the northeastern corner of the state, and now we're just socked in with the overcast skies. Well, there will be some breaks in the clouds later on this morning. Right now, you see those clouds hanging around throughout much of the first part of the day. Once we get into the afternoon and a few showers wrap up there in Atlantic and Ocean counties, we start to see the sun break through, and that's what helps us climb to near 70 degrees later today. It'll feel very mild this afternoon before a front pushes through around 2-3 o'clock and helps drop those temperatures by about 10 to 15 degrees. So another slide, bringing us back down to closer to average in the upper 50s later on this evening. Tonight is chilly. Tomorrow morning actually starts in the 30s in northern New Jersey. There you go, 41 over in Newark, starting at 8 a.m. Stays chilly throughout most of the day with on and off, passing clouds throughout most of the morning into the early afternoon, and then those clouds tame down by the end of the day. Thursday is another chilly day, but we eventually see the warmer weather come in for Friday. With it, some clouds. That's the warm front doing its job, warming us back up into the 70s by Friday afternoon with mostly sunny skies. We get even near 80 in some spots of New Jersey, there toward Trenton and Camden, flirting with 80 degrees by the end of the day on Good Friday. Saturday, I think, starts off a little cloudier, but the mild weather sticks around for the start of the weekend. So some good news for the upcoming holiday weekend. Temperatures day by day increase a little bit. Again, it'll be chillier tomorrow morning, our coldest morning of the week, a high of only 52, which is below average. But then we see those temperatures climb into the 70s, and yes, perhaps even 80 degrees by Saturday. We'll give you a complete check of the weekend forecast, including Easter Sunday. That coming up, Ken. That's in just a few minutes with your next weather update.
I have a whole cage full of Easter bunnies ready to let go, for gosh sake. You know, they make a mess. I'm just saying. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. It is 7:03 right now. In terms of traffic, we do have an issue even at this early hour on the GWB midspan. Let's take a look right now. And normally we don't show you this side because this is going into New Jersey. You see that on the right side of the screen? That's going into Jersey, not out. But the reason we're showing you that is because that is caused by rubbernecking, that slowdown there. So we have a crash, GWB upper level eastbound. So that's toward Manhattan, midspan and Fort Lee. The center lane is blocked. Right now, it's because of the amount of traffic coming into New Jersey, it's actually causing rubbernecking. The shot in about 10-15 minutes outbound, or I'm sorry, going into Manhattan will be a whole different picture. So we'll let you see that in just a few minutes when we come back. Other traffic issues right now, we have a crash on Route 42 northbound at exit 9A, which is Coles Road in Gloucester Township. One right lane is closed. We have delays on the Garden State Parkway northbound from north of exit 148 JFK Drive north to exit 150, which is Hoover Avenue in Bloomfield. All lanes are open, but there's a good 2.5-mile delay. That's all volume at this hour. And of course, the ongoing emergency construction on I-80, both directions at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and being detoured in both directions. Remember, it's about 2 to 3 weeks before the westbound lanes are going to reopen. Eastbound lanes is going to be about 5 to 6 weeks. Our time now is 7:05. Leaders in Prospect Park are calling on the Borough Council president to immediately step down and withdraw his name from the June primary ballot. This after officials say that he was charged last week for his role in a mob-tied gambling ring. 42-year-old Anand Shah is the third term, or in his third term, in the all-Democrat governing party. He was charged with conspiracy, money laundering, racketeering, and gambling-related offenses, according to investigators, for allegedly taking part in an operation that involved dozens of others, including members of the Lucchese crime family. Mayor Mohammed Khairullah released a statement yesterday asking for Shah to resign. Our time now is 7:06, 51 degrees. He wants to be governor, but he hasn't seen an enormous amount of financial contributions from individuals. Enter the New Jersey Teachers Union to prop up their president, 49-year-old Sean Spiller. Spiller has an enormous $35 million war chest, almost all of which comes not from individual donors, but from the New Jersey Education Association and its 200,000 members. That's right. Imagine you want to be a teacher in the state of New Jersey. You're blue collar, middle class person, white collar, technically as a teacher, middle class person. You work hard. You work in some challenging districts. You have to pay your dues. And the money that you're donating or giving to be a member doesn't go to union issues. It goes to that person right there. So he could be governor. Well, they know if they get him elected, they could be guaranteed sweet contracts for the foreseeable future. Spiller is one of at least 6 Democratic gubernatorial candidates in New Jersey, but has the most money amassed by far, courtesy the hardworking members of the union that had little say on how their dues got spent. Those dues, by the way, often costing upwards of $1,300 per year per person. Our time is 7:07. San Diego was rocked by an enormous earthquake early yesterday. Originally, the quake was thought to have registered a whopping 6.7. It has since been reported by the U.S. Geological Survey as either a 5.2 or a 6, depending on what part of the area you're talking about. You can see the shaking in this video here. The earthquake struck about 1 p.m. our time. It was earlier than that, their time, 10 a.m. And of course, it was felt all over Southern California, including across Los Angeles. At least 7 aftershocks, including one of 3.9 magnitude, were reported. It's unknown if there are reports of injuries or damage. 7:07, and we have a temp of 52 degrees now. Environmental virtue signaling. Clorox Australia, the Down Under branch of Clorox Corporation, the manufacturer of Glad waste disposal and food storage bags, has now been hit with an $8.25 million federal penalty for making incorrect product recycling claims. Australian officials sued Clorox and they won after the company made claims that they made their containers, at least partly, from plastic that they recovered from oceans and beaches. You could see right there on the box. Glad to be green, 50% ocean plastic recycled garbage bags. Turns out that wasn't the case, according to the lawsuit that was won. Almost all of those plastics are dumped into the water, by the way, by China, India, and Russia. Yet all the Western countries are made to be guilty of this, and we're the ones who usually clean it up for them. We all profess the guilt. We end up paying green surcharges to clean it up. Government officials said the packaging on more than 2.2 million products from Clorox's Glad to be Green 50% ocean plastic recycled garbage bags suggested they were made, again, of at least 50% recycled plastic waste collected from the ocean or sea. In reality, they were using plastics collected from Indonesia, well inland from the ocean. Basically, as Indonesians were putting their recyclables out, some of that went to those bags. Still some recycled product, I give them props for that, but it wasn't recycled from the ocean as they were claiming. 7:09, a skier in Colorado had a close call this past weekend. Stop what you're doing and check out your screen. Video shot on Sunday at the Keystone Ski Resort in Keystone, Colorado, shows skier Brian O'Neill. I will show this to you in a little bit, but this is a guy named Brian O'Neill. He decides to go skiing with his buds, coming down the slopes, and a black bear comes running up out of nowhere, runs right in his direction. Luckily, the skier managed to avoid a closer encounter. The bear ended up disappearing into a nearby forest. It was barely a terrible situation. 7:10 right now. Government records in New Mexico are showing dead rodents and rodent nests throughout 8 detached outbuildings, all part of the property of the late actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy. Hackman's wife died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which is a rare disease that humans can contract from rodents. They have to contact the rodents or the rodent feces, saliva, or urine. So you could be sweeping up rodent droppings, and you could have the dust of the rodent droppings get into your nose. You inhale that. That's loaded with the bacteria, or the virus, I should say, the hantavirus. That gets into your lungs, reproduces, and there is no antiviral agent that will help you. You could die from it. About half the people do die from that. She was only 65. The New Mexico Department of Health staff conducted a risk assessment on March 5th as part of the death investigation of Hackman and his wife to ensure the safety of first responders and family members who had access to the property. They wanted to make sure nobody who went to clean out the place could get sick and die. Hantavirus is a rare but serious disease that has resulted in fatalities for anywhere from 40 to 50% of patients in New Mexico. The state has had the most reported cases of hantavirus in the entire country. Our time is 7:11, I should say. It's 51 degrees, a little rain, possible light shower this morning, then some clouds and sun. It's going to be very mild, a little breezy, highs in the mid to upper 60s. 7-Eleven, federal officials have filed charges against a New Mexico man in connection with recent arson attacks on an Albuquerque Tesla showroom and the headquarters of the Republican Party of New Mexico. Officials say 40-year-old Jameson Wagner was charged with a felony after investigators say he hurled fire bombs into both places and claimed it was simply political protest. Yeah, damaging a place with a fire bomb and potentially hurting or killing somebody is not political protest. That's legal. The Tesla showroom was attacked early on February 9th, damaging 2 Teslas as well as the dealership building. Investigators say Wagner spray painted graffiti on the GOP headquarters as well. Our time is 7:12 right now, and when we come back, politics from Trenton from New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein. Again, maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mixing in later. It'll be a breezy and mild day with highs around 70. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will return. They'll have your full Garden State forecast. Plus, we will take your calls. The lines are open, 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It is tax day, April 15th. Get those taxes filed. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. It is Tuesday, the 15th of April. That means it is tax day. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:15. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. We could see a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up and we'll see some sun mixing in later. It'll be a breezy and mild day with highs around 70. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. A nice spring feel today. We've had a varying weather depending on your point of view, depending on the day. You go from the morning where it's chilly and cloudy to the afternoon where it's sunny and beautiful and you want to get on a bike and ride. And then later on in the evening, where it's right back to, bundled up in the sweatshirt and hoodie because it's so chilly. That's the kind of weather we get again today with another round of cool air in the morning. We start off milder than usual and see temperatures climb into the mid-60s by the end of the day. So from Freehold and Matawan, the temperatures will ultimately climb up to the upper 60s, maybe touch 70 degrees in spots with a mix of clouds and sun before another round of showers come in this afternoon, maybe even accompanied by a little thunder and lightning. And it's just kind of that spring feel that brings back, obviously, the healthy dose of pollen. We are up to the high level in the trees category. And if you're an allergy sufferer, especially just looking at the car top, seeing the car coated in that lovely shade of a yellow green. The grasses are also at the moderate level now that the lawns are getting going, and you even see the landscapers out doing their thing. So with temperatures that start off today quite mild, the winds are light, anywhere from 4 to 12 miles per hour at the shore, even less further north. Well, with the winds today gusting thanks to that cold front pushing through, they could be upwards of 30, 35 miles per hour once we get just beyond the lunch hour. The winds come in from the west, promoting a cooler, drier air going into tomorrow, and they stay a bit breezy going into the end of the day on Wednesday. Finally start to relax throughout Thursday, but temperatures will already have cooled off by then, and then we see a milder push of air that arrives for Friday. That'll feel nice, especially with the moderate level of UV. We're at a 5 today, so you could burn in about a half hour, especially with that, one tick away from the high mark with the sun that arrives throughout the day today. Had a few sprinkles last night in northeastern New Jersey, and now we're just sucked in with the clouds for most of this morning before the front kind of drawn in the clouds here. See that clear sky over central Pennsylvania? That's what moves in this afternoon and then starts to destabilize the atmosphere, and we get a few of those showers that come in later today. That's what happens around 1 o'clock. You see them crossing the Delaware into New Jersey by 3 or 4, and then ultimately giving us a few passing showers today throughout the early afternoon into this evening. We turn quiet tonight, turns much cooler, and tomorrow is a chilly start, but we ultimately warm into the mid-50s, which is closer to average, with a nice round of sunshine. Then going into the Thursday-Friday time frame, that's when we see temperatures start to warm by the end of the work week. By Friday afternoon, 70 over in Flemington, 73 in Trenton, and even milder still by the end of the day on Friday. Saturday will also be nice and mild, and you see that in the longer range with likely some extra clouds around thanks to the warm front. I think we ultimately clear out by Sunday afternoon, so Easter Sunday may start off a little cloudy, but we ultimately turn dry by the end of the day, and then some rain on tap for next week as temperatures stay mild going into the rest of the week. This weekend starts off a little bit on the milder side, also a touch wet with possible showers there by Saturday morning, and then Sunday clears out nicely, turns cooler, 65, but a mild weekend overall. And now that Easter weekend is a little bit later in the season as compared to usual, we get to enjoy that nice milder spring feel that'll keep temperatures lovely going into the afternoon. So I think great weather, Ken, for the Easter egg hunts on Sunday morning. A nice, pleasant way to start off the holiday weekend.
You talked about crossing the Delaware. I know somebody else who crossed the Delaware. I was very young at the time, but he brought a whole bunch of people with him, and it's a long story. We'll get into it later. It's sort of a history lesson.
I hear they had
Thank you very
paintings of
much.
it, and you were in the background viewing and journaling with your little
Something about
sketch pad. They didn't have
wooden
phones
teeth,
back then.
cherry trees, and all sorts of stuff. All right, Mike, thank you very much. It is 7:19, and it is now time. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I'm sorry. See, I've been off a few days, and I'm bleary-eyed. We have to tell you about some issues we have in traffic. We have a crash on the Garden State Parkway southbound at exit 98. That's Route 138, Wall Township. All lanes are open, but that's causing some rubbernecking. There's a crash on 295 southbound on the exit 15, on ramp exit 15 by County Road 607. That's in Greenwich Township. All lanes are open. The ramp is blocked, though, so use caution. Crash on Route 42 northbound, which is Coles Road in Gloucester Township. The right lane is closed, so use caution. Still have that emergency construction. I-80, both directions, by exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. That'll be going on for weeks to come, so please give yourselves extra time through there. It is now 52 degrees at 7:20, and now it is time for Politics from Trenton. Explained like nobody else can do it. Here is New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Edge. It is Tuesday, April 15th. It's tax day, and it's also election day in 14 New Jersey municipalities who have school board elections. And in Newark, for the first time, 16 and 17-year-olds get to vote. One of the things the next governor of New Jersey, whomever he or she is, will have to decide is the future of the embattled Office of Public Integrity and Accountability. And make no mistake, the house that Gerbere built is in trouble. And as the nursery rhyme goes, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Last Friday, a Superior Court judge dismissed an indictment that's nearly 4 years old against Frank McVeigh, the former Phillipsburg council president. He was accused of threatening the mayor of Phillipsburg, and the allegations against McVeigh, a former state police captain, ended his political career. 2 years ago, a judge told the Warren County Prosecutor's Office that they were entirely conflicted. Everybody in that office conflicted out of the case because the prosecutor had been the mayor's lawyer. Now this wasn't an OPIA case, but it was most definitely OPIA adjacent. The first assistant prosecutor was Anthony Robinson, an OPIA alum, and for a time the acting prosecutor was Anthony Picone. He was once the OPIA deputy director, and it's totally fair to wonder if either of these guys would survive the scrutiny of the kind of oversight that a growing number of legislators are talking about. McVeigh's lawyer, Michael Critchley, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the state. Critchley is also George Norcross's lawyer. And Critchley said, and the judge seemed to agree, that the indictment came from a politically motivated prosecution. And yesterday, Critchley called it a case study in what happens when cavalier, overly aggressive prosecutors bring baseless charges against innocent individuals. Over the last few years, alternating between Democrats and Republicans, Americans have become increasingly concerned over politically motivated, grudge-settling prosecutions. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in New Jersey's upcoming election, whether candidates for governor proactively pledge to reform or kill off the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, and whether they support or oppose prosecutorial accountability, or does the public even care at all? Anyway, that's everything for today. I'll be back tomorrow, and have a great day, Garnett.
All right, David, thank you so much, sir. It is 7:24. Harvard now stands to lose billions of dollars in federal funding, anywhere from 2 to 8 billion, depending on the day of the week that you look at it. But they will lose billions in federal funding as Harvard has publicly refused to eliminate its DEI programs and will not stop pro-Hamas protesters who call for the deaths of Jews and the end of Israel. Why is this a problem? That is, to call for the end of it. It's pretty shocking the university even gets any funding, as they've been endowed by benefactors to the tune of many billions of dollars for decades. While Harvard had done away with standardized entry exams and was admitting blacks and Hispanics at significantly higher numbers than their white and Asian counterparts, the school was recently in the news because it had to offer a number of classes in, get this, remedial math. Harvard University, yep, its incoming students were so bright they couldn't add one and one. Their admissions were unable to pass even basic math tests. No, DEI had nothing to do with that. They eliminated standardized tests, admitted people solely on skin color, not based on their accomplishments or their school scores. Let's just do it this way. They basically said if you are white, if you are Asian, no one's coming in. If you are a legacy student, meaning your parents, your grandparents, or your uncle, whatever, your aunt came here, then we'll give you a shot. But if you are African American or Asian, African American or Hispanic rather, who by the way were discriminated against years ago wrongfully and should have been allowed in then based on their scores, they're now being let in just because of skin color. It's crazy. Think about that the next time somebody boasts of graduating from Harvard. Think about the true value of that diploma. 726, 5 years after the pandemic's start, millions of Americans are still struggling with long-lasting symptoms of COVID-19. Cognitive difficulties are among the most troubling and common symptoms in people both old and young. The ailments can be severe enough to leave professionals unable to work, and in some cases, suffering from mild cognitive impairment. Now, researchers are trying to figure out if long COVID patients' cognitive symptoms are getting better or regressing. Studies have found that older people who have COVID-19 are at increased risk of developing Alzheimer's sooner than if they hadn't had it. COVID may be accelerating the process in people already at risk of dementia. So it doesn't necessarily cause dementia or Alzheimer's, but if you had a predisposition to it and you had long COVID, chances are you will get dementia or Alzheimer's sooner than you would have otherwise. That's what they're finding. 727, we've heard how the use of drugs like Ozempic can drive weight loss as well as potentially boost heart health and cut out alcohol cravings. Now a new study reveals fresh insights into how the medication can change eating habits too. Ozempic and other drugs in its class mimics the body's natural response to food and reduce appetite and slow digestion. A government study of 2,000 participants showed Ozempic users ate as much as 1,000 fewer calories a day, and while still craving high calorie and high sugar foods, they overwhelmingly decided against eating them. They apparently had more control because they didn't feel hungry. And overwhelmingly, by the way, they chose instead to eat more fruits and vegetables and less beef, sugar, and processed foods. The drug often leads to as much as a 20% weight loss for users. 728, find yourself yawning a lot? Do you need a third or fourth cup of coffee to make it through the afternoon at work, or if you're doing a morning streaming news show? Such signs of sleepiness may be a red flag of a serious sleep deficit that could put you in physical danger and harm your long-term health, according to a new position paper by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. From drowsy driving crashes to workplace errors and long-term health risks, the effects of excessive daytime sleepiness impact individuals and society every day. Not getting a quality night's rest of at least 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours, has been linked to the development or worsening of diabetes, depression, heart and kidney disease, high blood pressure, obesity, and stroke. About a third of all U.S. adults report experiencing excessive sleepiness on a regular basis. Right now it is, excuse me as I look down, it is 7:28. We have 52 degrees. And when we come back, he's an artist who celebrates baseball. James Fiorentino will join us. The phone lines are open right now. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mix in later. Very spring-like, breezy and mild with highs around 70. The full Garden State forecast in just a moment. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we're streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/ONNJ. We're coming right back. Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, tax day. Right now it's 52 degrees. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mix in later. Very spring-like, breezy and mild with highs around 70. I see Easter bunnies in the distance. I'm just saying. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hopping around New Jersey. Yeah, we'll be hopping over some puddles by the end of the day because there's a little bit of rain in the forecast, Ken. A spring shower in our offing, and with that, a little bit of a cloudy start, some sunshine this afternoon, and then we go right back to some milder weather by the end of the day. So we get you started to look outside. There we go. It's going to be a nice start to the day with a little bit of cloud cover, but a milder feel as far as temperatures go. It'll also be a bit breezy by the afternoon. With that, some sunshine breaks out in between the clouds, then a cold front rushes in, providing the cooler air that finishes out the day and makes it pretty chilly for tomorrow. But milder weather returns with sunshine for Thursday, and then we see a nice warming trend going into Friday and the upcoming weekend. Not too shabby down the shore with temperatures starting off in the mid-60s. A little bit of light rain there in Atlantic City this morning, giving way to some sun by the afternoon. 66 back toward Egg Harbor City and Hamilton, with that front pushing through, providing a little bit of that clearing throughout the day. Now, today's average temperature should make it up to 62 degrees. I think many places will exceed that, even getting up to the upper 60s before cooling off quickly. And notice that sunrise, we gained a lot of sunlight just in the last 2 weeks. 6 to 18 our sunrise time, with sunset happening now after 7:30. So the bigger picture showing those clouds hanging around for the first part of the day, and even some of these showers starting to enter the picture here in southern New Jersey, just touching Cape May and working over toward Atlantic City in the next few hours. That'll give us a wet start, say south of exit 40 on the Parkway, and then ultimately bring back the afternoon sun with that small chance of rain this morning. Tomorrow and Thursday were dry, but much cooler. And then as we go into Friday and the weekend, there's a little chance of rain for Saturday and even less by Sunday. But I think we start off the weekend pretty mild, and that'll be kind of the headline going into the upcoming weekend with that pleasant weather. Good air quality today statewide, thanks to that nice, refreshing breeze from the west, and with that clearing air throughout the day. So there's that front that excuse me, pushes through this morning and gives us a few sprinkles by this afternoon, because as the sun breaks out between the clouds, it helps to bring back the threat of a few passing showers this afternoon, just because the air is so cold behind it. That chilly weather keeps us calm but cloudy for tomorrow morning. Sunshine returns tomorrow afternoon, and then tomorrow evening stays nice and dry. I think Thursday is a very sunny day with another round of mild weather coming in for Friday. There's the warm front doing its job in clearing out the skies for Friday afternoon. So Friday will be very mild. It's popular to do the outdoor Stations of the Cross on Good Friday, and I think you will have fantastic weather with a really mild feel and lots of sunshine by Friday afternoon as temperatures warm into the upper 60s. This is a dramatic change from just a few days ago that put quite a bit of rain over us throughout the end of this week. Now that's flipped. So we'll see the sunshine stick around for the first part of Friday into Saturday. I think Saturday afternoon, again, a chance of a sprinkle. That's just the mild weather giving us the threat of a chance of rain. But again, I think the highs climbing into the 70s will be the headline, with very mild weather even going into Sunday, 65 and sunny on Easter Sunday, and dry as well for Monday. The southern 7-day forecast for the short points brings back clear sky throughout tomorrow and Thursday. Much cooler, however. We start off in the 30s across most of New Jersey. Even at the shore, it might be down to 41 degrees, with highs climbing to 56 by the afternoon Thursday. And we add a few degrees each and every day, all the way up to near 70 by Saturday. Feeling very pleasant. Sunday and Monday also looking good into next week with a pretty dry feel. So after so much rain, we really saw the rain buckets fill up over the last few days. We get a nice dry period going forward. That takes us right into Easter. So hopefully no muddy shoes for those Easter Sunday morning Easter egg hunts, because it's been pretty wet, Ken, over the last about 2 weeks or so.
Well, we told Mother Nature that we were in a deficit for how long, right? We said for about two
It's a
months, we
long
could use
time.
the
Yeah.
rain, we could use the rain. So apparently she had a long list of things to do. She heard you, and because you have the
Mm-hmm.
power of the meteorologist at your hands, Mike, you were able to communicate. I'm very impressed.
I mean, thank you. I mean, yes, you can't see the lightning bolts coming from my fingers on the camera, but they're there.
I think I left you speechless there for a minute. All right. Meteorologist Mike Favetta, at least in my view, you have the power of the meteorologist always. I appreciate you, sir, as always. Okay, we'll check back in a little bit. 51 degrees right now. And it is time to check the traffic. We have a crash. Actually, at Route 46, both directions west of the New Jersey, west of Bloomfield Avenue in Montville, rather. All lanes are closed eastbound and westbound. So just beware of that. That is Route 46, both directions west of Bloomfield Avenue in Montville. We also have some delays. Let's take a look at the Garden State Parkway, rather. This is in the Bloomfield area, exit 148. You can see a bit of a slowdown there. And that's strictly volume. That's going in the vicinity of the tolls. But that is volume at this hour. As you can see, there is no crash reported in that vicinity. But nonetheless, give yourselves enough time knowing if you normally travel through that area at this time, you're aware of that. But nonetheless, something important to see that because of that. We have a crash on the GSB southbound, a little bit further south. That's at exit 98 by Route 138 in Wall Township. All lanes are open, but we do have some delays. And emergency construction on I-80, both directions at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. That's that ongoing sinkhole construction. That'll be going on for 3 weeks in the westbound direction, about 5 weeks in the eastbound direction. 7:37, time now to welcome acclaimed artist James Fiorentino, whose new book, The Art of Baseball, The Watercolors of James Fiorentino, celebrates America's pastime through his stunning watercolor masterpieces. From vintage legends to modern stars, Fiorentino's work captures the heart and soul of baseball, enriched by personal stories from his friendships with icons like Yogi Berra and Cal Ripken Jr. James, welcome to the show. Good to have you on today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet. And congratulations on The Art of Baseball. What inspired you to create the book and bring together such a diverse collection of your baseball watercolors?
Yeah, I think, just being able to do this for so long and starting at a very young age from around 14, 15, it's been over 30 years of, working with so many athletes really in every sport, but, baseball being the main one. And, sharing it to people who know my story and also obviously a lot of people who have not seen my work before. So it's very special for me to get that out there.
And your paintings range from gritty black and white vintage players to vibrant portraits of today's stars. How do you decide which moments or players you want to capture? And what's the creative process like? Do you just wake up one day and say, I got an idea? That's it. I saw a picture of such and such. I got to create something out of that. What's your process?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously being inspired by players and moments in history for sure. I'm very blessed and lucky to always have commissioned artwork from clients, and those clients can be just everyday collectors to the actual players themselves to teams. Over the years, working with different magazines to trading card companies, it sort of ranges, everywhere. But yeah, certainly I'm very blessed and lucky to have a lot of projects all the time. For example, I had just completed the National Baseball Hall of Fame's yearbook cover for their induction. So you can do things as cool as that to, working again on a project for a player. So, and then again, if somebody does something incredible, you may be inspired to want to do something like that.
And you've developed personal friendships, of course, over the years with the late, great Yogi Berra, Ted Williams, Cal Ripken Jr. Share some favorite stories, if you will, from the relationships you had and how that influenced your work.
Yeah, I mean that's the real amazing part of it. Looking back, it's again starting at 14 and meeting guys like DiMaggio and working with for Ted Williams in his museum and flying out to meet Ted when I'm 17 and Ripken being the official artist when he broke the streak. I mean, those are such big things. And this was all when I was in high school. Developed a friendship with Yogi when I was 15 years old. He invited me to his home. I had just done an event last week at the Yogi Bear Museum in Montclair, and I was just saying how incredible it was and generous of him to do that for me at such a young age, and just being around all these guys and stories. I do think the historical part of being at Ripken's 21, 30, and 31 games. I was lucky enough to go on the field and be interviewed by CBS This Morning the next day. I mean, the Ted Williams stuff was incredible. I always tell people all the Hall of Famers that were there, and the Hall of Famers at the table next to me, and being around Mays and Aaron and Mantle and Musial. But being a young kid and showing them my work and being an athlete and a baseball player during those years, I think those guys gravitated to me, and so making relationships at a young age with Hall of Famers was a big part of my career.
And Yogi was an amazing man. I also got to meet him and interview him a few times over the years from New Jersey. And I think a lot of people thought he was kind of clowny because of his comments. He was a very intelligent, very thoughtful, and very kind man. And so I'm glad you got to portray a side of him through art that gives him the props that he really deserves, aside from being one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a way, he's underrated. I mean, he has 10 World Series rings, 3 MVPs, but right, because of the quotes and because of everything else, he sort of became a larger than life character, but he was an incredible baseball player. I saw
Yep.
something recently where he only struck out 12 times in one year. And, for an 8 to 10 year period, he was one of the greatest players of all time. So, yeah, just be able to paint him. And I think he probably really did love that, seeing me do a lot of paintings of him over the years. And, but yes, very intelligent, very smart, and obviously being an incredible gem in the state of New Jersey all those years and doing so many things for so many organizations in the state. Yeah, I just feel so blessed and honored that I had that opportunity with him.
Very cool. And the book includes a unique story also about Pepper Davis. For the youngins who don't understand, you're a youngin, but you do understand. But the term pepper referred to somebody who had a lot of energy, right? So they say, "Give me the pepper boy." That was back when I was a little kid. You used to hear that phrase. And the book includes a unique story about Pepper Davis from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. What was it like to paint her and to learn about all the contributions she made to the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the amazing part too, is that all these, whether it was artists that I knew or athletes like Pepper, I was able to have conversations about those eras of the 30s and 40s and 50s. And for Pepper, I mean, to me, one of the greatest baseball movies or movies in general is A League of Their Own. And Pepper was on the set for the movie. She created the song that you hear. Most of the players are sort of based around her. She was a catcher, so Gina Davis sort of portrayed her. But I mean, Pepper had Jimmy Fox as her manager, who Tom Hanks played. She even had the great Jim Thorpe one year for softball. She went to high school in California, and Norma Jean, I think, was a grade below her. So her and Norma Jean would work at Howard Hughes Aircraft, and obviously, Marilyn Monroe. So I used to have tons of conversations with Pepper about this. She was almost like a grandmother to me, and had her out here actually in New Jersey for an event at the Somerset Patriots. Took her to Yankee Stadium. So again, just like, and that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to portray in the book, because I don't know if everybody knows that. I painted her book cover that came out during a skirt. So an honor for me, and just to get those out to baseball fans, some more unique stories that maybe again no one's heard of.
James, you're like seriously, and I'm not saying it to blow smoke, you are a living link to history. It's just amazing. And a lot of people who are younger don't find that kind of interest. They kind of think, oh, old people, whatever. I think we're all blessed that you did that and you provide this link. So you were the youngest artist, in fact, I'm just reading, to have displayed work at the National Baseball Hall of Fame. How did that shape your career, and did that deepen your love of baseball?
No question. I mean, all these things again just were huge for me at a young age to certainly help even where I am now, and being even able to do all this stuff with the Hall of Fame right now. But it was just simply like visiting the Hall of Fame like every other kid when I was like in Little League, and but I also obviously had that passion for art at a very young age, and seeing Rockwell's and Warhol's and all these incredible paintings at the Hall of Fame, I simply back then was just writing letters to people saying, "Hey, check out my work. It'd be a dream of mine to have work, in the Hall of Fame, and work with these players and people." And they got back to me. And at 15, I had the painting of Reggie Jackson that went in for when he was being inducted, and thousands and thousands of people are seeing that painting. And so I think also being in this great area of New Jersey, growing up in Middlesex and Central Jersey, and having the media in New York City. So I was getting a lot of attention at 15 years old. And so that definitely started to help me get noticed, get clients, and then I think all of that from the Hall of Fame to Yogi to Ted Williams to Ripken all helped each other and really put me in a good spot when I was going into college to play baseball and do more artwork throughout those times. So
Well, it's a great book. The name of it is The Art of Baseball, The Watercolors of James Fiorentino. What's a website where people can get more info and where can they buy the book?
yeah, you can go to my website, jamesfiorentino.com, and that's where you can pick up the book and you can see all the different events I'll be doing this year, whether it's the Somerset Patriots, the Bernie Williams, to the National Sports Convention in Chicago. So there's local things in New Jersey to things far away to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And, always look forward to meeting a lot of people and obviously people getting the book.
Fantastic. Artist James Fiorentino, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Ken. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good one. It is
You too.
7:46. We have 52 degrees when we come back. Meta chairman, I should say, Mark Zuckerberg on trial. We're going to tell you what it could mean for the future of the social media empire. Maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We see some sun mix in later. Very spring-like day. It'll be a little breezy, mild, highs in the low 60s in much of New Jersey, maybe upper 60s in parts. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with your full Garden State forecast, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. This is ONNJ Jersey Mornings on Tax Day, April 15th. Don't go away. And welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 748, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Maybe a shower this morning, some clouds and sun mixing in together later. It could be a stray shower. Very spring-like, breezy, mild, highs, low 60s in much of New Jersey, maybe upper 60s in parts, right to meteorologist Mike Favetta. He could explain much better than me with the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Can I though, Ken? Because it's really, this is weather. You wait 5 minutes, the weather changes. So yes, your phone, your app says one thing, the human meteorologist says another thing, but ultimately you're going to go outside and say it's cloudy in the morning, sunny in the afternoon, and then another 10 minutes later it starts raining. So this is kind of the weather pattern that we have today. It is changeable. It is changeable rapidly, especially into this afternoon, because with the clearing that occurs right around 11 a.m., we'll see the morning clouds part for some beautiful sunshine, and that's what helps us warm into the 60s this afternoon before that sun helps to inspire a few showers to shake out in between those clouds later on today, maybe even a rumble of thunder there toward Newark and Jersey City. It's just one of those days where the weather is that variable. Now, given how much rain we've seen, there are some parts of New Jersey, especially right there along 195, that are out of a drought. This is official from the Drought Monitor Service, bringing back just a dry start to the rest of the week here in New Jersey. Portions of extreme northern New Jersey have a little bit of a moderate drought going on, and then that orange area of severe, but no extreme drought as we've seen for most of this winter. So the rainfall actually doing a great job of turning things wet, especially with these rainfall amounts. 210% of normal rain here in the month of April, a typically very wet month over the last 30 days there in Mount Holly. So big numbers even toward Atlantic City, 184% of rain. These are numbers we really needed to see given how dry it's been. Still holding a little dry up in Sussex County. It's going to take a while, I think, to see those numbers pop back to average. But even with the rainfall deficit up to about 1 to 2 inches there, only in Sussex County, the rest of the state has reached our average. And even going forward into the rest of the month, the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting above average temperatures, not just for New Jersey, but most of the East Coast, with that big area of red here east of the Mississippi. So we'll tap into some of that warmth going forward. Even slightly, equal chances of seeing drier versus wet weather. You see a little pop of green there in the south, but I think in New Jersey here we should look good going into the end of April. And we do look good, at least from a dry perspective, on the 7-day forecast right through the rest of this week after today, with those showers ending by this evening. Wednesday and Thursday bringing back some clearing skies, with it temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s, and Saturday looks nice and pleasantly mild, although there is the chance of a sprinkle. I'm telling you, I don't think this will be here tomorrow, this rain. I think it dissipates because it's really not enough wet weather to impact the forecast all that much, especially with Sunday's mild weather turning dry with a high of 65 on Easter Sunday. The shore points also have that chance of rain today, but cooler through the rest of this week and sunnier, especially Thursday and Friday, with mild weather returning by the end of the work week. Friday into Saturday sees highs jump into the upper 60s. Sunday and Monday also looking very pleasant. So a dry period going forward, and we get a couple days to dry out before Easter as well, which is always appreciated. We'll take another check of your forecast, Ken, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. It's 52 degrees right now. And we talk about, on occasion, traffic wise, we talk about ugly. Let's take a look at ugly. This is if you are headed out of New Jersey in toward Philadelphia. That's the approach to the Delaware Memorial Bridge. And you can see it is bumper to bumper. We don't have confirmation of an accident yet, but my guess is there's a breakdown or an accident. Oh, that's going to, forgive me, that is going to Delaware. So clearly there's something going on in once you get into Delaware, but we don't know what. We'll find out, but nonetheless, be aware that that is the approach going into Delaware right now by the Delaware Memorial Bridge. Just a bumper-to-bumper mess there. We also have issues if you are headed out to JFK, and that's such a long ride to begin with. Once you get there, you may have problems getting some parking. You may have to park in satellite parking off premises because the big main Terminal 4 parking lot is almost 100% occupied right now. Heads up. So this way, if you're doing the drive out there, you could book another parking facility. Crash investigation, Route 46, both directions, west of Bloomfield Avenue in Montville. All lanes are closed in both directions. Route 46, big roadway there. And we have a crash on the GSP southbound by exit 98. That's Wall Township. All lanes are open, but very heavy. Still have that emergency construction, I-80 both directions at exit 34. Route 15 in Wharton due to the sinkhole issue. All lanes are closed in both directions and being detoured. It is 7:53. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg took to the witness stand on the first day of an historic antitrust trial to defend his company against allegations it illegally monopolized the social media market. The trial could force the tech giant to break off Instagram and WhatsApp. Startups that Meta bought more than a decade ago and have since grown into social media powerhouses unto themselves. To weigh in on this is brand and digital strategist Fisher, who can be found on X, Threads, and Instagram with username @Fisher and through his website, fisher.media. Good morning to Fisher.
Good morning, Ken.
And well, Mark Zuckerberg took the stand yesterday to defend Meta and his acquisitions of those companies from over 10 years ago. Why is the FTC just bringing these charges now? Some are saying this was sour grapes from the Trump administration, from the way Meta products kind of treated him in the first go round. What's
Yeah.
being said about why the attack now?
Well, it is a original Trump 45, right? So it's from Trump's first term, but it took until 2020 for the FTC to file an antitrust case. Now, I'm going to mention a name, and you tell me if this sounds familiar. Judge James Boasberg of the United States District Court in Washington, D.C.,
Aha.
dismissed the case in 2021, saying the agency didn't have enough evidence to prove Facebook even held any market power. But in August of 2021, the FTC filed an amended complaint with Judge Boasberg and more details about Meta's user base metrics relative to competitors like Snapchat, Google Plus at the time, MySpace. And after reviewing the amendments, Boasberg in 2022 ruled that the case could proceed, saying the FTC presented more details than before. Now, again, as you mentioned, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg took the witness stand Monday to defend the company against accusations by the FTC that it bought competing social media companies to dominate the market. Now, in 2012, this is how far back Meta acquired these companies. Meta paid $1 billion to Instagram, and in 2014
Oof.
bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. Now, if I remember correctly, Instagram only had about a dozen employees. So I know $1 billion wasn't split evenly, but still everybody did pretty well on their own. Now, the trial, of course, could result in Meta having to divest the two companies, Instagram and WhatsApp. Lawyers for Meta argue that the platforms have plenty of competition in the social media space. You have TikTok and Snapchat and a bunch of others. Regulators approved the purchases years ago. That's their argument as well. So we are dealing with this 10 plus years later. But the FTC said in their legal filing that acquiring these competitive threats has enabled Facebook to sustain dominance to the detriment of competitors and users by not competing on the merits, but by avoiding competition. And it is interesting. I mean, the real fine line of this, Ken, is that the argument from Meta is we paid $1 billion or $19 billion to these companies, right? So we allowed the founders and the employees to go on and acquire or build new products, and live a great life with $1 billion or $19 billion. But the government is saying, but what could Instagram and WhatsApp have become on their own? So did you buy them? Now, there are emails from the early 2000s where Mark Zuckerberg and team, of course, talked internally about threats from Google and other companies and why they would need to buy companies like Instagram and WhatsApp to make themselves more relevant. So that'll all be part of the discovery. And Mark Zuckerberg, again, is supposed to testify for another day. Former COO Sheryl Sandberg, Instagram co-founder Kevin Systrom, and Meta executives and other top brass from TikTok, Snapchat, Google will also be on the stand. So it'll be about a 2-month trial.
We only have about 45 seconds left. So just a quick
Sure.
recap as to why Apple recently announced a significant investment in America and
Yeah.
how it seems to be that other companies are falling in line. What's that about?
Yeah, NVIDIA's next. So Apple announced $500 billion a couple of months ago over the next 4 years, and NVIDIA announced kind of the same plan. And it's they're investing in Texas and Arizona as well. Again, $500 billion from NVIDIA to build chips and AI supercomputers here in America, and obviously that'll avoid tariffs, and also it'll improve the United States security, which is a major part of building our products and our chips here in America, so that we're not relying on other companies,
Yeah, that
other
is certainly a
countries.
big deal. Yeah, other
Hmm.
countries, exactly. For our own sake, we have just farmed out
Hmm.
too much over the years. Time to bring some stuff back.
And we
Brandon,
learned that
digital
during COVID.
strategist Fisher. Didn't we ever, right? Brandon, digital strategist Fisher, found on X, Threads, and Instagram with username @Fisher and through his website, fisher.media. Always thanks for being
Thanks,
with
Ken.
us this morning. Just you got it. It is now 52 degrees, 7:59. When we come back, disposed of plastics in the ocean and on the shoreline been impacting the environment for years. As the Jersey Shore gears up for the summer season, we'll talk to the executive director of Clean Ocean Action about how volunteers are helping us clean up. Also, we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Could be a shower this morning. Then some clouds will break up. We'll see some sun mix in later. Breezy, mild. Low 60s in much of the state, upper 60s in parts. The full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. and now streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/ONNJ. We'll be right back. Very good morning. It's 8:01, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, tax day. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Could be a shower this morning, then some clouds will break up, start to at least. We'll see some sun mixing in later in the day. Maybe a stray shower here and there. As Mike said, it's all over the place. It's spring. It'll be breezy, milder. Highs low 60s in parts, upper 60s in other parts. Let's go to Mike Favetta, meteorologist. He'll explain all the details with regard to state forecast. Ugh, I got a headache, Mike.
It's the hay fever, and the congestion from all of this pollen. It's like an assault on your sinuses when you step outside. It really is. The pollen is bad. We'll talk about that in just a bit. How much warm weather with those dry breezes that we saw yesterday, allowing for the tree pollen to really proliferate. I mean, it's beautiful. You have the cherry blossoms, the apple blossoms now coming out, and the pear trees, those dogwoods with the white stinky flowers. They all look pretty, but man, the pollen is rough. So with the temperature right now, starting our day at 61 degrees in Mount Holly, even down toward Atlantic City, also 51, there's a pretty wide spread of temperatures depending on your location. Cooler up in Sussex as that westerly breeze pushes in through the first part of the day. With that, it allows for a little bit of a milder start in southern New Jersey, but will ultimately, everybody sees a milder finish to the day. With that, we start off 18 degrees warmer than this time yesterday in Mount Holly, 20 degrees warmer than this time yesterday in Toms River. The clouds are around, and with that, a few showers overnight work their way through northern New Jersey, and even right now through southern New Jersey, some light showers over toward Avalon and down toward Stone Harbor and Cape May that are exiting east. With that, I think we'll start off a little bit of wet weather. There it is, showing up on the Futurecast, so that rain continues through about 9 or 10 a.m., and then clearing occurs through later on this morning. And with that clearing, northern New Jersey tapped into some sunshine, whereas the southern portion of the state, especially south of 195, sees that rain up until about 1 or 2 o'clock. Then everybody grabs onto the sun, helping temperatures climb quickly with the southwesterly breeze into the upper 60s. But that, in combination with the cold front, helps to allow for a quick shower or storm to form. And that's what happens closer to 3 and 4 o'clock today. So you get sunshine 1 minute, rain the next, might even throw in a rumble of thunder there with that cold weather coming in and clashing with the clouds, helping the temperatures drop tonight into the 30s, starting off tomorrow pretty chilly. Tomorrow afternoon warms up a little bit, only into the upper 40s and low 50s, so a big change in temperature just in the next day. The front doing its job, but ultimately we see a milder trend by the end of the week, especially Thursday into Friday, where highs climb back up into the upper 60s, might even touch 70 in some spots by Friday afternoon. It will feel very pleasant with a few dry days ahead. Looking forward to that. We'll take a look at the weekend weather for upcoming Easter holiday forecast. That, Ken, with your next weather update in a few minutes.
There you go. All right, sir. Thank you very much. And we do have a little bit of traffic. By the way, traffic overall is much lighter this week because we're celebrating holidays for Christianity and Judaism. We have, of course, Passover week, and all of Christendom is celebrating Easter at the same time. Some years it's broken up in terms of the calendar. Orthodox, Western Christians all celebrating the same time this coming Sunday. So this week is Holy Week. A lot of people took the week off. So let's take a look right now. This is one of our traffic cams. This is mile marker 147. If we can go to that on the Garden State Parkway, you can see that's just kind of a little bit of a heavy flow moving along. And there's another one. If I can get Mike to go to Mike Gerald, excuse me, our director. It's also mile marker 147, exit 145 Sussex Avenue. That's one that has a little bit more bumper to bumper action. Mile marker 147, exit 145. So I think that's one or two off of where we just were. But nonetheless, that's one of the few roadways showing a little bit of traffic. It's really just volume because there's no delay for traffic in terms of an accident. There you go. You can see right there. Although as I speak, maybe there is something in the middle lane. You can see people going around the middle. So there might be a little fender bender that happened in the middle. But again, this is mile marker 147, exit 145 Sussex Avenue over past camera of the Garden State Parkway. A little bit of buildup right there, obviously. We have a crash investigation in Montville, problems in both directions on US 46, Route 46, west of Bloomfield Avenue. All lanes are closed on 46 through Montville as a result. So just avoid that area if at all possible. Crash on the GSP southbound at exit 98, Wall Township. All lanes are open, but nonetheless, some rubbernecking as you pass through. And we still have the ongoing road work to repair the sinkholes on I-80 east and westbound at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. It's 8:06. As summer approaches and New Jersey gears up for beach season, the fight to keep our shores clean is even more critical than ever. This year marks the 40th anniversary of Clean Ocean Action's Beach Sweeps, the state's largest volunteer cleanup event. In 2024, thousands of volunteers collected over 276,000 pieces of debris, much of it single-use plastic, revealing troubling trends in marine pollution. Joining us now is Cindy Zip, who is the Executive Director of Clean Ocean Action. Good morning to you, Cindy. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken. Yes.
Well,
so
first off, it's
you.
nice to meet you. And it's nice that you and so many people are taking time out of their busy schedules to love our shorelines and care for the beaches. I live in New Jersey near the Jersey Shore half the time, and I live on the sand on the beach in Fort Lauderdale the other half of the time. I literally comb the beaches when I'm down there because I'm literally on the sand and pick up junk all day. Nothing ticks me off more than when people pollute our waters and our shores. Yeah. Nothing. So thank you for doing what you do. Is it getting worse, do you think, over the years?
It's getting different. And I think it is getting worse only in that we are using so much more single-use waste. You know, we're just really escalating the amount and number of items of convenience, single use, and we're seeing it out on our beaches. And, you know, you're absolutely right. The power of the people is so inspiring when you see, you know, thousands of people, small and tall, getting together, dedicating their precious personal time to coming out and getting out on the beaches. Especially, we just had our event. We just had our spring sweeps this weekend. It was freezing cold on Saturday morning. It was spitting rain everywhere. And yet hundreds and hundreds of people turned out and to enjoy and the ocean and give back and get that litter up off the beach. It really truly is inspiring.
It's such a treasure. It is such a treasure. Excuse me. And the fact that anyone would just throw away things like that on the shore, like it's just going to disappear. It's plastics don't just disappear. Unlike, say, paper, and you shouldn't throw that in the water either. Right. At least that'll disintegrate. But plastic doesn't. It could hurt the wildlife, and it's just ugly to look at. It just sits there forever. You know, on any beach at any given time, there's a garbage can somewhere nearby, or else keep it in your bag and take it with you and throw it out. But I'm thinking the single-use plastics, do you think that kind of blossomed more because of COVID? Everybody worried about reusing things at that time?
You know, yes, perhaps, yes, definitely there was a spike during COVID. But, you know, the trend has been over the decades that we are just really using more and more plastics. I mean, and that's what's kind of fun about the beach sweeps. It's you can go, as you have, Ken, and encourage everybody to head to the beach every time they do with a bucket and leave the beach better than you found it. You know, that's really terrific. Every piece that we remove is less threatening to the marine environment. But, you know, on these 2 days, one day in the spring and one day in the fall, we ask people to do something even more challenging, and that is tally every item you pick up off the beach so that we can use it as data and as evidence of the problem so that we can get policies implemented. And that has been very successful over the years. We've been able to, and folks may know that we don't have plastic bags in New Jersey anymore. And that's because in part of the data that we've been able to collect. And, so far there's 23 billion less plastic bags in the world because we're taking that little bit of extra effort, bringing some bags to the store and using them at home and over and over and over again. These small things, because there's so many of us, add up to a very, very big deal.
And really is upsetting. You could have used the so-called single-use plastic bags. If you just used them over and over again, we could have been doing that. But no, people were using them once, tossing them out, letting them blow away. It's so infuriating. It's like, just clean up after yourself. That's all. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And people just assume, I'll just toss it on the ground and it'll just disappear. No, you're creating a problem for other people and for the life in the environment. Stop doing this. Just wake up. It doesn't take a lot. If everybody does a little tiny bit.
Yeah, if everybody does. And, the thing is that a lot of this litter comes from upstream sources. I mean, a lot of the litter that we put on the streets everywhere, all waters lead to the ocean. So when it rains and all that litter washes off on and into the waterways, it ultimately gets into the ocean. So it's not just people littering on the beach. But not only is it bad for marine life, because this plastic, once it gets out there, breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces known as microplastics. Those microplastics now are also affecting people. They're getting into our water, they're in our food and everywhere. And in fact, recent studies have found that there's there's about an equivalent of a plastic spoon in our brains that's building up over time. And this is affecting our public health as well. So we need to be very concerned about plastic overall. But it is just the fact that people are getting out onto the beaches, that's one way people are really learning about the problem.
And I was reading here, the report that you have includes the dirty dozen and the roster of the ridiculous items like fake eyelashes, even a gallon of maple syrup. I mean, what do these unusual finds tell us about the state of marine pollution?
I think it tells us the state of pollution in general. I think, who knows where those things started out, right? They could have started out upstream, but they wind up in the ocean, and then sometimes it washes up on our beach and we're able to collect it. But the vast majority of the litter that we're finding goes out into the ocean where it will stay a long time. But, you just can't make some of this stuff up over the years. It's been going on for 40 years. So we now have multi-generational families that come out and take their time to come out on the beach on those 2 days and collect the data and provide, their most unusual items. That's one of the very fun things, is to talk about what was the most unusual items that you found. And it is a very, very rich list. So I really encourage everyone to go to our website and go to check out the 2024 Beach Sweep Report and look at your most favorite unusual items. You can even find a few bucks. So, we found, some folks have found $20 bills over the years, $5 bills. So sometimes it truly is treasure.
You know what? That's almost like Mother Nature saying, thank you. Here's a little something for you for cleaning up. I really believe that's karma. That's right. That's kismet, that you're doing a nice deed. So here's a little something for you.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If people don't have the time to give a whole Saturday, and that's a big commitment, and God bless everybody who did that. And thankfully they did that. But if you don't, here's an easy plan. You go to the beach this summer. When you go to pick up your blanket or your chairs and leave, before you leave, just look in a 25-foot radius around you and take a tissue and pick up 10 things. If everybody did that, that's really all it takes. If everybody pitched in that little bit, we would have so much cleaner an environment. It would just be so much better for everybody, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can all do something.
Well, you're a good person and a great organization. Again, tell everybody that website address again, please.
Great. It's cleanoceanaction.org. And we couldn't, come on out in the fall. Our next beach sweep is October 18th. So put it on your schedule.
And you make it a good day for everybody to do that. Cindy Zip, Executive Director of Clean Ocean Action. Cindy Zip, thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for what you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet, anytime. It is now 52 degrees already, way up there at 8:14. Today is tax day. Advice for the ultimate procrastinators from CPA E. Martin David Off. Maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mix in later. Breezy and mild, highs low 60s in much of the state, around 70 in other parts. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast. And give us a call, 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:16, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Could be a morning shower. Any clouds will break up. We'll see some sun mixing in later. Very spring-like. It'll be a breezy and mild day for parts of the day. Highs low 60s in parts of the state, upper 60s in others. I can't even figure it out. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta. He's got degrees in this. He could explain better. He has the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
There's going to be a lot of degrees by the end of the week. It gets really warm, Ken. Thank you for the pun. Plenty of mild weather on the way to wrap up Holy Week, especially going into Easter Sunday, with temperatures that will soar to near 80 this weekend. It'll feel very pleasant. We're already teetering with getting near 70 by this afternoon. Granted, this is before the cold front sweeps through and gives us another round of rain, with colder weather by tonight, even into tomorrow. So with temperatures that will climb into the upper 60s, maybe near 70. You get a little bit of a sea breeze there over toward Long Branch. Otherwise, the chance of a rain shower is certainly likely with the afternoon as that front pushes in. Does it do anything to get rid of the tree pollen? Nah, it's not a long or prolonged enough rain to lower the tree pollen. In fact, I think this spikes even higher by the end of this week with the very mild weather that comes in. Even grasses have risen to the moderate level. They are on their way up as well. A little bit of a breeze from the south and west this morning, up to 22 miles per hour, but likely gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour later today with that front pushing through. It keeps our air dry going into tomorrow, but also chilly by the afternoon. Even tonight turns quite cool with temperatures bottoming out down in the upper 30s and low 40s. So a chilly way to begin our Wednesday, stays cool into Thursday, but each and every afternoon is nice and dry. And with that, our UV gets up to a 5, which is moderate on the scale, just one mark away from the high level. So we're getting to that time of year where we could burn in less than 30 minutes. Here's all the cloud cover that sticks around over New Jersey. Behind that, that's the front. They're drawn in the clouds, and that'll help bring back the threat of a shower later today as that front pushes through. You can see it with the clearing that occurs middle of the afternoon, and then another shower takes over by day's end. It's going to be one of those quick 10-minute showers, and then it's back to the sunshine right after. With that, the clearing overnight with the cooler weather from the west, promoting a little bit of a gusty breeze. But each and every day after tomorrow, we see highs climb well into the upper 60s, maybe even 70 by Friday afternoon. With that warm front, you see 72 there in Trenton, 72 in Camden, and 70 in Medford as soon as noon Friday, and could even warm up even more up into the upper 70s before the day is through. Then Saturday into Sunday, the mild weather sticks around. There could be some clouds around, maybe a sprinkle, but I think Sunday ultimately clears out by the afternoon, and with that, a nice milder finish to the weekend for Easter Sunday. Monday and Tuesday of next week see some clouds and showers, I think, early on before clearing later on in the day. So this weekend looks nice and dry to start, with overall a pleasant mix of clouds. I told you the rain would be gone. See that? The weather computer updated, took out the showers for Saturday with a nice warm 78 degrees, and then Sunday brings back the temperatures in the upper 60s with even more sunshine. So we got a pretty decent weekend ahead with lots of heat on the front end and sunshine on the back end. Looks nice for the weekend, Ken.
I love when you yell at the computer and it answers. That's a good thing. It's pretty amazing. AI,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Is that AI? Is that how that AI thing works? The young
There
ones
are
talk
AI
about that.
components. It's not completely AI because that just scares me, but we're not going to let it do its own thing. I go in and sometimes manually manipulate it, and I'll take the percentage down a little bit. So a lot of times I just let it go on autopilot.
You know, AI will be great when it comes to doing the housework, cleaning the
Yeah.
dishes,
Hmm.
stuff like that. That's when we
Sure.
want AI. All right, we'll work on that. Thank you so much, meteorologist Mike Favetta. We appreciate it. 52 degrees now. It is 8:21. Let's take a look at the traffic if we can. This is mile marker 147 by exit 145 on the Garden State Parkway. Just an ugly mess there, bumper to bumper. There seems to be something in that middle lane right at that point. I think it's behind the camera to the left, like behind, back there, where there's something, because I see some people coming back into the middle lane at that point. I've been seeing beforehand. I don't know, maybe it's clearing up a little now. It's moving. 5 minutes ago, it was absolutely stopped. But nonetheless, this is in the area approaching Bloomfield. So just beware as you go through that. We also have some issues on Route 46 in Montville. There is a crash right now, and that is a crash investigation. That's causing problems in both directions by Bloomfield Avenue in Montville. So people are being detoured off and just bumper to bumper through that area. We have a crash on Route 22 eastbound west of Hillside Avenue and Hillside Township. A right lane is blocked, and a crash on US 1 northbound approaching Plainfield Avenue in Edison Township. One right lane is closed. For those heading to JFK, parking terminal 4 is terminal parking 4, I should say. So the parking lot number 4, which is the main parking lot, the biggest one at JFK, it's nearly 100% full. And I think that's because it's holiday week. A lot of people are headed out of town. That's not unusual. So the point of telling you this is because if you're leaving from New Jersey to get to JFK, that's about an hour and a half drive, 2-hour drive, depending on what part of New Jersey you're coming from. Try to book your parking rather now before you head there in one of the satellite lots, or else you may not get a place to park your car if you're driving there. And finally, we have that emergency construction on I-80, both directions at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and everyone is being detoured off. 8:23, with just hours left until the tax filing deadline. Time is running out to get your returns in order. For many, the thought of tackling that mountain of paperwork can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Joining us is E. Martin Davidoff, a nationally recognized CPA and tax expert with over 35 years of experience at Prager Metis. Martin, thanks for being here to share some last-minute tips to make filing for your taxes less daunting as the clock ticks down. This is like Super Bowl day for you.
Absolutely. And great to be here again, Ken.
Well, nice to have you on. And you said that the first step is to use your time wisely and gather all those necessary documents. It's really kind of what or get off the pot time right now. Excuse the slang. Can you walk us through the must-have forms right now, like the W-2s, 1099s, and others that people need to gather up right now if they haven't?
Well, at this point, if you're just first gathering, you should be really thinking about filing an extension. Filing an extension is an extension of time to file, not to pay. So do your best to do a quick estimate. But better at this point, if you haven't gathered anything, file an extension. You can go online to www.irs.gov and find the area to file extension, go through your CPA, your tax software, file that extension. If you think you're going to owe money, pay what you think you're going to owe. You can always get it back later. But the penalty for not filing is 5% per month of what you owe.
Mm.
So please make sure that you file. And if you owe money to New Jersey, you have to pay money to New Jersey also. And the other thing is, if you are going to file at the last minute, make sure you have somebody who's going to help you file, or that you know what you're doing. And if not, again, I suggest you file an extension. Now, there are a lot of people who are prepared to file, but they've been waiting because they don't have the money to pay. And there are a lot of alternatives about that to work with.
Okay, so the form is, I looked it up only because I've been interviewing you for weeks now. Form 4868, right? Remember that
That's
number,
that.
4868. So if you go to irs.gov, download that, fill it out. But you still
Now,
have to
now,
do the estimated taxes.
well, you still have to pay what's due. But very interesting, there are people in the country, for example, if you were impacted by the hurricanes in North Carolina or Florida or Tennessee or parts of Virginia, that have until May 1st. So if people listening to this broadcast are in states other than New Jersey, you may have, and you've been impacted by storms, or in California fire, you may have an opportunity to have until May 1st to file. Also, if there are people out of the country, they have until June 15th.
Okay, but don't try to use that as an excuse, because if you get caught lying, you're in way worse trouble. Let the people who genuinely need it use that extension, and the rest of us, come on, file.
That's
You could
correct.
always,
And
and if you're not
basically,
totally sure, you could amend
and
later, right? You could amend it.
yeah, but amending is not a great idea because it brings undue attention to your return. It's better to file the extension and do it later. And as far as your earlier question about what to gather your W-2s, your 1099s, your information from brokerage accounts. A lot of people forget that. And most importantly, if you're going to get a refund, make sure your bank account number is correct. You don't want your money going into somebody else's bank account.
That's a very good point, because good luck clawing that back. And for those feeling crunched for time, you're talking about the extension. How about being ready for next year? Maybe could we use this as the example? Like, if you feel rushed today because you haven't prepped, what should I do now so that next year goes as smooth as silk?
Well, if you're in a small business, keep really good records. Make sure you talk to your accountant about how those records should be maintained so that it's easier for him to take care of. And, just if you are somebody who normally owes money because you have investment income, pay your estimated taxes. They're due quarterly on April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the following year. And just one other thing, if you do owe money today and you can't pay, file the return if you have an accurate return, or file the extension. The IRS can very easily put you into an installment agreement for years if need be. If you owe thousands of dollars, you can pay a few $100s a month. You file a form 9465 to request it, or you just go right online to online payment agreements at irs.gov, and they'll help you out with that. You can, they're very generous in terms of that, as long as you don't do it year after year after year. Just if you're having a specific situation, go get an installment agreement.
And you noted the importance of updating the IRS about changes like a new address, or if you get married, you change your name, or if you transition, you change your name, et cetera. What's the easiest way to notify the IRS and Social Security Administration? And what happens if you skip that step?
Well, when you file your return, the address on the return will automatically be used by the IRS for your records. You can file a Form 8821, but usually what I do is suggest for our clients is, when we file the return, we make sure we have the correct address. Social Security, you go on to ssa.gov to correct your address and log into your account. And with the IRS, you can also do it online. And if you don't have an online account, go to irs.gov, get an online account. You can check your records. You can check to see what third parties have reported on you. They'll be more accurate later in the year, but some of them have, like W-2s, if you didn't get them, they'll be online now at irs.gov, and you can use id.me to get yourself an account if you don't already have one. A really good idea to do that. And also, finally, and it won't be for this year, but for next year, if you're concerned about identity theft, get an identity PIN from the IRS. That will be a unique number that only you can use to file your return so that nobody steals your identity to get a refund on false information.
Hey, Marty, does every CPA in America go on vacation tomorrow?
Not everyone. I actually did a little mini vacation for Passover uh, this weekend to go see my family down in Florida. But today I'm finishing up strong.
Good man. Well, listen, a blessed holiday to you. E. Martin Davidoff, CPA and tax expert at Prager Metis. Always a pleasure seeing you. Thank you for joining us this morning and get those taxes in.
Thank you very much, Ken.
You bet. We'll see you next week, Marty. It is now 52 degrees at 8:30. The phone lines are open, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says, could see a morning shower. Any clouds will break up. Some sun mixes in later. It'll be breezy and mild, highs about 62 in the lower part or upper part of the state, 70 in the lower part. The full Garden State forecast in a moment. You are watching On New Jersey Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Also streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/On New Jersey. We'll be right back. Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, tax day, currently 53 degrees at 8:31. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mixing in later. It'll be breezy, mild, highs in the low 60s in parts of the state, near 70 in other parts. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah, we start off with a little cloud cover, but it's mild this morning as compared to yesterday. And with the mild weather that sticks around this afternoon, temperatures come crashing down with a cold front later today. It'll feel very chilly by this evening as temperatures fall through the floor down into the 20s and 30s, especially in northern New Jersey, by tomorrow morning. So a much cooler start to the day tomorrow. After highs today will climb up to near 70, and then the mild weather returns with the sunshine again on Thursday. Drier weather takes over for the rest of this week, and that means a warm up as well going into Friday. Later on this afternoon, down the shore, you will find a mix of clouds and sun, and with that, a chance of a shower, especially along the parkway south of Atlantic City this morning. The rain begins, and then we get a little break of sun, and then there's another rain shower again this afternoon. So that'll keep us, I think, on our toes through the end of the day with some on and off showers, especially with that sunrise nice and early now at 6:18. The clouds that have been hovering across New Jersey, keeping our skies gray, stick around through at least the first part of today. Notice those showers working through Cape May County right now. A little bit of a light, gentle rain there. But the rain chances diminish as the week goes on, especially into tomorrow and Thursday. Small chance by Friday, and then an even lesser chance by Saturday. I like how that number updated for Saturday afternoon. So with the rain chance today, again, it's primarily in the afternoon with a spotty shower that lasts no more than a few minutes in between the breaks of sun. And that's the cold front doing its job of keeping our air quality nice and clear and also bringing back that dry weather through the rest of the week. There's the rest of the shower chances through this evening. It's this weak upper trough in the high in the sky that provides that instability, giving us a shower chance as well later on into tonight. But tomorrow clears out nicely. Thursday's beautiful, nice and dry and sunny. And it stays that way through Friday with warmer weather that pushes in. Nice southwesterly breeze helps that, allowing for clear sky as well for Saturday. Now, Saturday afternoon has that front that pushes in that should come through dry, which is why the rain chances are now gone for Saturday, but keeps our high of 78 degrees. So even into Easter Sunday, the 66-degree high will feel very pleasant with mostly sunny skies. And the rest of this week is nice and dry. Same for you at the shore points, with temperatures each and every day climbing into the 50s and 60s and maybe even 70 by Saturday, with Sunday also staying dry at 61 degrees. So a pleasantly clear forecast ahead after so much rainfall, so much water that we've had here in New Jersey. Good thing we can dry it out just in time for everyone to get out and enjoy it. And it's also nice timing that so many people are off, like you were saying, Ken. All the holidays this year celebrating the same week off. So we're enjoying the pleasant weather coinciding.
It's, I can't even remember the last time you've had Passover at the same time as the Western Rite, the Catholics celebrating Easter at the same time that the Orthodox. Usually there's one of the three, if not two, that are off because it's all based on moon and Gregorian calendar, etc. So, but it all coincides this year. So that's very interesting. And that's why so many people are off and traffic is rather light. Thank you so much, Mike. All right, sir. And we take a look at traffic. Speaking of which, let's take a look at one camera that we spotted that we have a little bit of traffic. And this is in the area of Bloomfield, the Garden State Parkway. You can see this is about a mile or so from the tolls and just, I think, volume at this point. That's kind of not unusual. We thought there might have been a crash there, but we looked into it. No, just volume at this hour. Moving around the region, what we have now is a crash investigation on US 22 eastbound west of Hillside Avenue, Hillside Township. A right lane is closed there. We also have a problem, a crash investigation, US 46. So Route 46, both directions west of Bloomfield Avenue in Montville. You had both sides closed about 10 minutes ago. Now they've opened the west side. The eastbound side remains closed while they continue their investigation. We still have the ongoing issue on I-80 east and west at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton as they continue work on those sinkholes and the repairs for that. That'll take another 3 to 5 weeks. 8:36, we're diving into a topic that affects millions of women, but is often shrouded in silence: menopause. Joining us is Tamsin Fadal, a dear friend of mine, a leading voice in reshaping the conversation with hope and empowerment through her book, Hey, Tamsin, How to Menopause, and her work on the documentary, The M Factor. Tamsin is breaking barriers and sparking change. So nice to have you on the show.
So nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. You look amazing, by the way. Sorry, I had to say that first and foremost.
Oh, you're so
Tamsin, you've become Oh, I adore you. You know that. I'm sorry. I have to fan. You've become such a powerful advocate for women navigating menopause. What has been the most surprising thing that you've learned about women's experiences since you started this?
Yeah, you know what? I would initially say, like, some of the facts I'd learned about how many women are in menopause and the fact that a lot of doctors aren't educated about it. But I think now, after, I just came back from a book tour. We went out with How to Menopause and went to all these different communities. We did a 10-city tour. And it's the community aspect of this that has been so amazing. And the number of women that just didn't have information and felt so isolated with this conversation. And I knew it, but when you see it over and over again and you really understand what's going on. So that's been really enlightening for me, and so much need for women to have access to care.
Men complain. I am stereotyping here. We complain if we have a hangnail.
Yes.
Menopause impacts so much of a woman's life, right? I mean, it's from when and it's
Oh,
not something that just lasts a day. It can last a year, whatever. So menopause affects so much. It can impact careers. It can impact relationships.
yeah.
What advice do you have for women to not just cope, but thrive during this time in their lives?
Well, I would say I don't think hangnails are one of the symptoms, so that's a good thing. But there are 34 plus symptoms because we have estrogen receptors all over our body. So when our
Mm.
estrogen just kind of goes off the cliff and plummets, our hormones plummet during this time, it affects everything. So I think that, two pieces of advice that I kind of start the book off with is that you're not alone, and that it's not in your head. Like, there's not just something wrong with you. I would make sure that if you are in your late 30s, early 40s, to make sure that you kind of set your own baseline, to go into a doctor, whoever you're seeing, and say, hey, look, here might be some of the things I'm dealing with right now. Maybe you won't have any symptoms, but if you do, and there's a list of 34 of them on my website or in the book, mark those, pay attention to them, take care of what you know about your body, because you are your best advocate right now, and go into a doctor and make sure that doctor is willing to have the discussion, whether it's talking about hormones or non-hormonal options. You've got to know what your solutions are. And that's really why I wrote the book, because I found that so many women felt either that they were being gaslit or their doctors just didn't know what was going on. And it's not doctors' fault. Many of them weren't trained on this in medical school, to their own admission. And so many are learning on their own right now. But it's up to us as women to take charge of our health. And really, that's the way you're going to thrive.
So let me get this. 50.5% of the population will encounter menopause at some point in their lives, and yet
Yeah.
it's not taught as an essential part of medical school. I got it. Okay, that makes total sense. It's so ridiculous. So,
It's
and what is
unbelievable.
the deal? Why, right? It doesn't make sense. Why is there such a negative stigma too around menopause? I mean, it is natural. It is part of the life cycle, yet it's always like, she's going through menopause. Is it
I
because
know.
of the age thing? What is that about?
I think so. I wonder that a lot. And now that I look at it, I'm like, wow, there's so many women that are so powerful during this time, because they're done caretaking everybody else. Now they're thinking about what's going on with their own health. And I see women in these second and third and fourth chapters, which is just really amazing. But I think that's what it is. I think it's wrapped up in so much ageism. I mean, centuries ago, they thought women were hysterical during this time and something was wrong with them. And I also think, at the end of reproductive years, a lot of people in society have thought that women don't have any worth after that. And that's, as we know, simply not the case. But the fact that we're still fighting that kind of stigma in 2025 is a bit crazy to me. Though we're making a lot of noise, which is good news. We're getting women a lot of help. There's 1 billion women in this transition as of this year. And I've just never seen a conversation so needed like this. And, I was a journalist for a long time. I never remember doing health studies on menopause. I never even heard the word perimenopause. So, we were all part of this. And so that's why I'm so grateful we're talking about it, and that men are getting comfortable with this conversation.
Finally. And by the way, we mention other channels here because it's a streaming channel. So of course I know Tamsin when I was at Channel 7 and Channel 5. Tamsin, you were at
Yeah.
Channel 2 and Channel 11. You were an anchor for years. And you left all of that. You left the world of broadcasting. You got smart. And you created something that, you touched that nerve that so many people have embraced because it was the pink elephant in the room. Every woman will go through menopause, yet nobody was talking about it. And you tapped right into that brilliantly. What
Oh,
advice do you have for partners, family members, mom, my sister, my mother, my wife going through menopause? What advice do you have for the family
oh.
members?
I love that question so much, because it's funny. We talk about the half the population is going to be in it, the other half is going to have to deal with us. But
Right.
I do think about a couple of things. I think knowing, understanding, be knowledgeable about the fact it's not just hot flashes and mood swings. There are really 34 plus symptoms of this, and a lot of them have to do with long-term health ramifications of your heart, of your brain, of your bones. And so it's important to know what's going on. If you love somebody, work with somebody, have a daughter, your mom is still with you, to be aware of what they're going through and don't dismiss it, one. And two, I think that, sometimes we as women don't even realize what's happening to us. And I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing it out the right way, not like, is it your hormones talking or what's wrong with you? But really in a caring way, help somebody understand it, because I'll tell you what, I didn't know what I was going through for years. And I wish somebody had said to me, hey, you don't have to play whack-a-mole with these symptoms and go to this doctor and that. Here's what might be happening to you right now, because your hormones are shifting a little bit.
Brilliant. And so is that ultimately what inspired you to write How to Menopause, to take charge of your health, reclaim your life, feel even better? Was that ultimately, there it is, we have it on the screen. Is that what made you sit down and say, hey, women need to know about this?
Yeah, we started on a documentary, and that was where it began. And during that process, I realized I was interviewing a lot of doctors, but there were so many other areas of this. It wasn't just what happened in the doctor's office. It's this 360 approach of what's going on. Menopause happens in the workplace, it happens in the bedroom, it happens all over the place with relationships, whether you're dating or you're divorced or you've got a partner for a long time, whether you're talking about brain health or bone health. And so really I set out to write that because there was no advice out there for me to say, like, simplify it for me so I understand it. I'm not a doctor, I'm a journalist. And so I really set out to write the book, the what to expect when you're in menopause book. So I called it How to Menopause because I don't think we were taught that. Perimenopause, which is the time leading up to menopause, can last up to 10 years. And that's a really long time for a woman to feel confused and suffering, especially at the height of their career. This all happened to me when I was still anchoring the news, and I was just totally caught off guard. I had no idea what was going on, and it felt like I was losing it, and I felt not confident at my job. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down and simplify some of the things that I've learned. And if it can help another woman, I'm grateful.
And that is, of course, the indication, by the way, for folks, of a great journalist, to take the complex and break it down and explain it and communicate it. And that's what you do as a journalist. That's why I think you've really been so effective, is because with your documentary, The M Factor,
Thank
and the
you.
book, of course, you can communicate to people in a way that the medical community may not be able to. They have the information, but it's difficult to communicate it in a way that people can absorb it. And you've really
Yeah, they're really
touched in and,
smart.
and
I
done
just make it, I said mine's brain fog proof, my book. So, but we interview, 42 different experts and doctors. I just had to simplify it so I could understand it. I said, when I was writing, I'm like, okay, the woman that is going through this is probably not gotten a lot of sleep. It's probably, kind of foggy because they're exhausted. They're doing 1,000 things and they're trying to figure out what's going on with them. So I needed to write
that.
it for who I was when I was starting to go through that, which is really just tell me the facts and what to do.
Tamsin, your message is all about hope, of course. And if you could give one key takeaway to every woman approaching menopause, what would it be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. On the other side of this, once you get these symptoms under control and you don't feel like yourself, you feel better than that. And I think that there is some real power in that. And I think there's some real power overall in taking charge during this time in your life. And that's what I want a woman to know, because it does go way past what happens in the doctor's office.
And what's your website, Tamsin?
Yeah, howtomenopause.com or tamsinfidel.com. And we have lots of free resources there too, links to the book and to the film and everything.
Author of How to Menopause and a force behind the documentary, The M Factor. My
And
friend for years, great journalist, Tamsin Fadal. Thank you so much for being with us. Please come back
thank you.
again.
Good to see you. Thank
You
you so
bet.
much for having me.
You bet. Happy Easter. Happy holidays to you. All right, love. It is 8:47, maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We're going to see some sun mix in later. It'll be breezy, mild, very spring-like, low 60s in parts of the state, upper 60s in other parts. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with your full Garden State forecast. And we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:48. We are taking your calls at 888-658-0234. We might be able to squeeze in one final call here. Could be a shower this morning. Any clouds will start to break up. See some sun mix in later. Breezy, mild, very spring-like, highs low 60s or upper 60s, depending on where you are. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the final Garden State forecast for the morning. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Ken. A bit of a spring start with clouds around for most of New Jersey, but there's some sunshine in the forecast to brighten your day, and it will also warm the temperatures well into the upper 60s, even in northern New Jersey, where those showers will be seen first this afternoon. They're likely as soon as 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, with all of that sun breaking through. Well, it's a front that passes that ultimately drops our temperatures from the 60s we'll enjoy this afternoon back down into the 30s and 40s later on tonight. The good news is all of this rain has done a great number on improving our drought. So this week's drought monitor has that little hole right there east of Trenton with no drought. That's some great news. It's been a while before we've seen no drought, at least in the last 6 to 8 months, with the rest of the state featuring a moderate to severe drought in spots. It's not all that bad comparatively, given how much rain we've seen. Just in the last 30 days alone, more than 200% of average down toward Mount Holly, and most of New Jersey seeing over 100% of normal rainfall in the last month. The exception being up in Sussex County, where you still have about a 1 to 2 inch rainfall deficit there in the hills of northern New Jersey. The warm weather sticks around right through the end of the month. A big area of warm weather sets up over the next 2 weeks. Then we'll see average chances of wet weather through the end of the month. So drier than average as well as warmer than average. And we'll take it given how this is a big week to be off with the holiday approaching and plenty of clear sky to boot. Throughout Thursday and Friday, as temperatures warm into the upper 60s, even near 80 by Saturday, it'll feel very nice and warm. Sunday sticks are in the mid 60s, maybe even towards 70 again. So pleasant weather for Easter Sunday and beyond. Going into the southern New Jersey shore points, plenty of clear sky for the rest of this week. Cooler than we've experienced, especially after today, but we warm right back up through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with those temperatures, even at the shore, because it's typically cooler this time of year, still managed to make it to the upper 60s, so that'll feel very nice along the shoreline. With next Monday's weather also looking great too. So plenty of great weather to enjoy for at least the next week. And I think going forward, even into next week, plenty of milder than average temperatures, Ken, and we'll take it given how wet and cool and chilly and rainy it's been.
We certainly will. I love how the daytime high on your Tuesday panel went up a little bit. I appreciate that.
Just a little
So
bit.
thank
Just a
you
little
very
bit.
much, Mike.
I did it for you, Ken.
Just a little. We love it. Thank you, sir. And yes, we do have some traffic to talk about here throughout the area. We still have a crash investigation on Route 46, both directions west of Bloomfield Avenue in Montville. All lanes are closed eastbound. They have opened the westbound lanes, but now there's a good 15, 20 minutes going through that area. It's a mess. So try to avoid 46 in Montville if you can. We do have a traffic cam for you to show you. This is the Garden State Parkway at mile marker 147, exit 145, right by the entrance ramp. If we could bring that up, that's the Garden State Parkway. There you go. That's just really volume at this point because we checked it out. We thought there might have been a crash in that middle lane, but apparently not. It's just been that way for the last hour or so. Again, volume exit that's exit 147, mile marker 145, Garden State Parkway in the vicinity of Bloomfield. If you are headed out to JFK, and this is all because it's kind of a travel week, a lot of people are off for Passover and for Easter week. This is Holy Week. We have issues at the JFK airport. Now it looks like 3 of their parking lots are 100%, either 90, 95 to 100% full. So make sure you have a place to park if you are driving to JFK or any of the airports for that matter, because a lot of people are doing the same thing as you headed to the airports. And we have the emergency construction continuing on I-80, both directions at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and people are being detoured off. 8:53 is our time. Leaders in Prospect Park calling on the Borough Council president to immediately step down and withdraw his name from the June primary ballot. This after officials say that he was charged last week for his role in a mob-tied gambling ring. 42-year-old Anand Shah is in his third term on the all-Democrat governing party. He was body, I should say. He was charged with conspiracy, money laundering, racketeering, and gambling-related offenses for allegedly taking part in an operation that involved dozens of others, including members of the Lucchese crime family. Mayor Mohammed Khairullah released a statement yesterday asking for Shah to resign. 854, he wants to be governor, but he hasn't seen an enormous amount of financial contributions from individuals. Enter the New Jersey Teachers Union to prop up their president, 49-year-old Sean Spiller. Spiller has an enormous $35 million war chest, the vast majority of which comes from the New Jersey Education Association and its 200,000 members. They know if they get him elected, they can be guaranteed some sweet contracts for the foreseeable future. Spiller is one of at least 6 Democratic gubernatorial candidates in New Jersey, but has the most money amassed so far, courtesy of the hardworking members of his union that had little to say in how their dues get spent. Those dues, by the way, often costing upwards of $1,300 per year per person. 854, San Diego, rocked by an enormous earthquake early yesterday. Originally, the quake was thought to have registered a whopping 6.7. It's since been lowered to 6. The earthquake struck around 1 p.m. our time. It was felt across Southern California, including across Los Angeles. At least 7 aftershocks, including one of a big 3.9 magnitude, were reported. Not known if any reports of injuries or damage came in. 855, environmental virtue signaling. Clorox Australia, the manufacturer of Glad waste disposal and food storage bags, has been hit with an $8.25 million federal penalty for making incorrect product recycling claims. Australian officials sued Clorox and won after the company made claims that they made their containers, at least partly, from plastics recovered from oceans and beaches. Almost all of those plastics are dumped into the water, by the way, from China, India, and Russia. Yet Western countries profess all the guilt and pay green surcharges to clean it all up. Government officials said the packaging on more than 2.2 million products from Clorox's Glad to be Green 50% ocean plastic recycled garbage bags suggested they were made of at least 50% recycled plastic waste collected from the ocean or sea. In reality, they were using simple recycled plastics from the land of Indonesia. People would just toss their plastics in for recycling. That was what was being used in part of those bags. 856, a skier in Colorado had a close call this past weekend. Video shot Sunday at Keystone Ski Resort in Keystone, Colorado, shows skier Brian O'Neill coming down the slopes as a black bear appeared out of nowhere, ran in his direction. Luckily, that skier managed to avoid a closer encounter with the bear. The bear disappeared to a nearby forest. Government records in New Mexico show dead rodents and rodent nests throughout the property of outbuildings on the property of late actor Gene Hackman and wife Betsy. Hackman's wife died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare disease that humans can contract from contact with rodents, rodent feces, saliva, and urine. She was 65. The New Mexico Department of Health staff conducted a risk assessment on March 5th as part of the death investigation of Hackman and his wife to ensure the safety of first responders and family members who had access to the property. Hantavirus is a rare but serious disease resulting in the fatality of 41% of all patients who come in contact. The state of New Mexico, by the way, has the largest number of hantavirus cases in the country. It is now 54 degrees at 8:57. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says maybe a shower this morning, then any clouds will start to break up. We'll see some sun mixing in later. It'll be breezy and mild. Highs low 60s in parts of the state, upper 60s in other parts. And that is ONNJ Mornings for your Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Reminder, it is tax deadline day. Get those income taxes filed. Remember, they have to be postmarked before midnight tonight, so take care of that. File for an extension if you have to. I'm Ken Rosato, and remember, you could stream us at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, also Rumble and Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/OnNJ. We'll catch you again tomorrow morning at 7. Tell your friends about us. Till then, have a great day.